You've been playing a game your entire life. A game you never signed up for. A game without rules, only outcomes. And worst of all, you didn't even know it was happening. From the moment you were born, you've been nudged, molded, and guided. Not with force, but with suggestion. Not by tyrants, but by architects of thought. You thought you were choosing. But what if the choices were crafted? What if the path you walk was laid long before you arrived? This isn't paranoia. It's not a conspiracy. It's psychology. It's philosophy. It's the invisible infrastructure of modern life. And unless you learn to see it, you'll never be free of it. Today, we're not just talking about influence. We're diving into how your reality is built and how to reclaim the power you never knew was stolen. Let's begin. Number 1. The illusion of control. You think you're free, that your thoughts are your own, that your choices come from some sacred place within you, authentic, untouched. But let me ask you something. How many of those decisions were actually yours? Not the ones you shouted out loud, the quiet ones, the ones you whispered to yourself, convinced they came from deep reflection. What if they didn't? What if they were planted, seeded, watered by someone else, and you just carried them to term? This isn't science fiction. This is your life. And the truth is more disturbing than any dystopia. You have been guided more than you've ever realized. Because real control doesn't come with chains. It doesn't wear a uniform, and it never announces itself. Real control is invisible. It's comfortable. It feels like your idea. That's the genius of it. Control that doesn't look like control. Power that wears the mask of choice. You were never forced. You were nudged, encouraged, exposed, conditioned, and that's the danger. Because what feels natural isn't always real. What feels like your decision might just be a perfectly engineered illusion. The greatest prison is the one where the door is open, but no one walks out because they think they chose to stay. Now, ask yourself again, how much of your life is actually yours? Number 2. The anatomy of influence. Let's break it down. How do people get controlled without even knowing? It doesn't happen with violence or volume. Not anymore. The most effective influence today is subtle. It's psychological architecture, invisible scaffolding built around your beliefs, your fears, your desires. And the builders? They don't need to push. They just redirect. They make you feel like you're walking forward, when really, you've just been placed on a moving sidewalk. True manipulators don't command. They suggest. They don't argue. They imply. They don't drag you to the destination. They build a road so enticing, you run down it yourself, smiling. Here's how it works. First, they find the cracks, the insecurities, the confusion, the yearning for guidance. Then, they offer direction, not as an order, but as a mirror. They reflect what you already want, or what you're afraid to admit. And when you finally act, you think it was all your idea. That's the art. Not to force people into cages, but to let them build the cage themselves, and thank you for the blueprint. Number 3. The psychology of submission. Let's be brutally honest. Most people don't want to think. They say they do. They pretend they do, but they don't. Because thinking hurts. Thinking means facing doubt, taking responsibility, admitting ignorance. Most would rather feel certain than be right. They want clarity, even if it's a lie, and that's where influence finds its power. Not in logic, but in emotion. Not in truth, but in comfort. People don't follow ideas. They follow certainty, charisma, confidence, belonging. The trick is simple. Wrap your idea in emotion. Make it feel like home. If someone feels seen, if they feel understood, they won't question you. They'll defend you. Not because of what you said, but because of how you made them feel. And once your idea becomes tied to their identity, they'll fight for it, even when it's wrong, even when it destroys them. That's the psychology of submission. People don't surrender to facts. They surrender to feelings. Number 4, divide, distract, and dominate. Control doesn't always mean silencing your enemies. Sometimes it simply means letting them argue endlessly. The surest way to maintain power isn't through suppression, it's through division. If a group stands together, they're dangerous. United, they're loud. But divided, they're just noise. So instead of crushing resistance, the strategist confuses it, feeds both sides just enough to keep the fire going, fuel the debate, stir the tension, let them believe they're fighting the good fight, when in reality, they're burning down the wrong house. This is how entire societies are controlled, not with weapons, but with distraction. Keep the masses angry at each other, and they'll never notice the puppet strings overhead. Keep them fed with conflict, and they'll beg for the very chains you've wrapped around them. It's not about dominating bodies. It's about occupying minds. Because if someone else controls your focus, they control your life. Number 5, the illusion of choice. The modern world worships choice. We love to believe we have options, endless options. This coffee or that one, this side or that side, this app, that job, that ideology. But what if all the options were crafted by the same architects? What if you've been given a menu, but never access to the kitchen? This is the illusion of choice. You pick between 2 paths, but never ask who built the road. It's the magician's trick. Let the audience focus on the left hand, while the right one rewrites the rules. They don't need to take away your freedom. They just need to frame it. Give you enough room to roam, as long as you never leave the cage. Real control doesn't require removing choice. It just requires shaping the environment of decision. People feel free when they get to choose, even if the outcome was designed from the start. Number 6, identity as leverage. If you really want to influence someone, don't go after their thoughts. Go after their identity, because thoughts can be changed. But identity, that's sacred. People will admit they were wrong, but rarely about who they are. So if you want to implant an idea that sticks, you don't sell it as a belief. You sell it as a mirror. You're the kind of person who sees the truth. You're too smart to fall for their lies. You're not like them. And suddenly, your message isn't just accepted, it's defended. Why? Because to reject it would be to reject themselves. This is the weapon most don't even realize they're wielding or being hit by. Ideas tied to identity become untouchable. They're no longer facts to be debated. They're self-preservation mechanisms. Change the belief, and the person feels like they're dying. This is where persuasion becomes power, and power becomes permanent. Number 7, the tools of influence. To manipulate a mind, you don't need genius. You need 3 tools: exposure, repetition, and emotional charge. Exposure is the doorway. You introduce an idea subtly, on the sidelines, not directly. You let it hover, pass by, echo, not once, not twice, but often enough that it becomes familiar, and the brain loves the familiar. What's seen often feels true, even when it isn't. Repetition is the hammer, not loud, not aggressive, just consistent, in different forms, different words, different platforms, until it embeds itself not in memory, but in identity. And emotion? That's the glue. No one remembers data. They remember how something made them feel. So attach the idea to a strong emotion: fear, pride, anger, hope, and the mind locks onto it. This is the unspoken formula behind every movement, every advertisement, every viral trend. It's not random, it's orchestrated. The question is, are you part of the audience, or have you learned to compose the symphony? Number 8, the cost of control. Now for the part no one talks about. Every form of control comes with a cost. manipulating others, shaping minds, guiding thought. It might give you power, but it also creates enemies and imitators. The moment people realize you've guided them, they don't admire you. They resent you. No one likes discovering they were never in control. And when they find out, they turn on the one holding the strings. Worse still, if you play this game long enough, someone else learns your rules. They watch, they study, and eventually they play it better. Control is like fire, useful, powerful, but touch it for too long, and it burns. So here's the final truth. You can learn to influence, to guide, to manipulate, to lead from the shadows. But you must decide, what are you willing to lose, to never lose again? Because real power demands something in return, and once you pay the price, there's no going back. Number 9, escaping the frame. So now you see it. The game, the patterns, the manipulation. The question is, how do you escape? You don't fight control by resisting every influence. That's not freedom. That's paranoia. True liberation comes from awareness. Start by asking better questions. Where did this thought come from? Who benefits from me believing this? Do I actually want this, or have I been taught to want it? Build your mind like a fortress. Guard your attention like a currency. Because in this world, attention is currency, and whoever controls your focus owns your reality. Step back from the noise. Turn off the endless feed. Detach from the cycle of outrage and distraction. Create space to think, to feel, to observe. Influence thrives in chaos. But clarity is resistance. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You need to be still so you can see the strings before they tighten. Number 10, becoming the architect. Now here's the truth no one wants to hear. If you don't influence, you'll be influenced. If you don't shape the narrative, you'll become part of someone else's script. This doesn't mean becoming manipulative. It means becoming intentional. It means understanding how the mind works, so you can lead it with integrity, not deceit. You don't have to play the puppet or the puppeteer. There's a third option, the architect. The one who builds from awareness, who understands influence, but wields it with purpose, who speaks not to control, but to awaken. Because once you learn how ideas are planted, you can plant better ones, healthier ones, ones that free minds instead of chaining them. The world doesn't need more manipulators. It needs masters of meaning, philosophers with precision, strategists with soul. Be one of them. In the end, this isn't just about manipulation. It's about identity, agency, power. We live in a world where everyone wants your mind, your beliefs, your behavior, your decisions. The only question is, will you let them have it, or will you reclaim it piece by piece? You don't need to be immune to influence. You just need to be aware of it. You don't need to isolate yourself from the world. You just need to know when the world is shaping you more than you're shaping it. And once you learn to see the strings, you don't have to cut them. You can simply refuse to dance. So now ask yourself truthfully, was it ever really your decision? Or are you just waking up to the truth that the most powerful form of control is the one that makes you think you're free? Choose carefully, because now you can.